Stage 13 of the Giro D'Italia saw riders sign in under sunny skies. With the wind blowing in the background, Riccione was the start on the Adriatic Riviera, as a few riders had family in town, others hoping to have a quieter day after the chaos of stage 12. The Pan Flat or Piadina Flat stage in Emilia-Romagna, now a Giro staple. 179 kilometres for this one-star stage, but the threat of crosswinds all day meant that the riders would be nervous. The stage would start in Riccione and finish in Cento, not far from Bologna. No King of the Mountains prizes here, only 200 metres to climb in the whole race. One of the flattest stages that these riders would ever ride in their careers. Pogacar was still in the pink jersey, Milan wearing Ciclamino with Tiberian white, and looking after the mountains jersey for Pogacar would be the German Simon Geschke. Lots of questions, wondering what would happen when the flag was waved. A pretty simple answer. An attack from 3 Italian riders from second division teams, one from Pol di Cometa, Andrea Pietrobon, no stranger to the breakaways, with Tarozzi Antonelli riding for VF Group Bardiani. They were the local team, the Emiliano team, with Tarozzi himself riding to his hometown of Faenza along the route. 3 minutes 20 seconds was the biggest gap. Lidl Trek, alongside Soudal-QuickStep and Alpecin-de-Koning, did most of the work to chase things down. It was a relatively relaxed start. First intermediate sprint came and went, and the most of those points, behind for the main sprinters at least, went to Jonathan Milan, extending his lead in the points classification. At the Intergiro, 1 minute 30 the gap, halfway through the stage or just over, and behind, Caden Groves turned up for business. Milan leaving this one alone, Groves taking a few points back. Into the final 63 Ks, around a 90-degree turn, coming out of a town, the wind blowing and the Ineos Grenadiers lighting up a stage, surprising those behind. Lidl Trek were caught out. Jonathan Milan will be put into a second group. Domenico Pozzovivo in trouble as well in the general classification. Soon the race would split not into just 2 groups, but 3. Milan and his team not panicking though, riding behind to try and bring things back. At the front, they were still trying to open the gap. 10 kilometres in, we still didn't know whether it was coming back or going out. They got it to within just 6 seconds, but around another corner, and that gap extended again. It was 20 kilometres later, back in another town, 43.5 kilometres to go, when everybody could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The nerves were abound though. Another attack, this time from Marcellusi. He was followed by De Potter, and another 2 riders off the front. They'd get 30 seconds of a gap with 30 kilometres to go. The normal nervous crash that you get often in these stages happened behind. Certain riders down, including Will Barter. Problems too for Ewan Kostju. A little bit of a panic coming back on. Thankfully, everybody would get back on. 26 seconds for the 2 riders in front, 18 kilometres to go, and the sprint teams once again in control. With 15 kilometres left to the line in Cento, De Potter would leave behind Marcellusi, looking for the most combative rider prize. Marcellusi caught back as GC teams started to approach the front of the race and compete with those looking for a sprint victory. De Potter's adventure ended with 9 kilometres to go. Inside the final 5 Ks, things really got going. A series of twists and turns where you always had to be in the front 30 positions to have any hope of doing something at all. Soudal-QuickStep were riding pretty well. Alpecin-de-Koning had been up there. J.K. Lula had their lead-out men produced, and they had them well positioned. Sprinter, not so much. Then came Lidl Trek into the final kilometre. One by one, their men would fade away after doing a big turn. It was Sturven, then it was turns, and when it came to the turn of Consonni, there was an attacker. Finally, they saw the finish line in sight, and what is becoming a trademark move from Fernando Gaviria, a long old sprint. Milan was straight onto it though. On his wheel, and Jokovski's Kofidis. Bauhaus was there as well. A few sprinters way out and left behind. Groves out the game. Medlir made it, but didn't make it to the finish. And Milan making it a hat-trick. 3 victories at this Giro. An ironclad grip now on the Maglia Ciclamino. 110-point lead with both Medlir and Groves outside the top 10. Gaviria's early go not making it. Milan first, Agnieszkowski second, and a third place in the end for Phil Bauhaus of Bahrain. A brilliant fourth in the end for Van Dijken. 5th place went to Hofstetter. 3 up indeed for Lidl Trek. Only one team has won more than them this season. A 22nd victory of the year for the American team. A celebration with his nearest and dearest for Milan. Only UAE having more wins. And now Milan with as many wins as Pogacar in this Giro. There's the top 10. Dainese inside it. Notable by their absence, both Medlir and Groves. Jonathan Milan zipping up the Maglia Ciclamino. As long as he makes it through the mountains, he will now be the hot favourite to hang on to it until Rome for the 2nd year running. 110 points. Groves on 174 behind. Medlir on 93 in 3rd place. Almost 200 points behind. Tadej Pogacar can celebrate another day in pink. No changes in the top 10 in the general classification, despite those worrying moments with the splits in the wind. Going into the time trial, the second and last time trial, it's 2 minutes 40 in front of Martinez, 2:56 ahead of Geraint Thomas, and now 31 kilometres against the clock on a flat time trial for the 2nd time in this race. They all face each other and the watch. The race of truth will take them to Lake Garda, and finishing in Desenzano del Garda, home of one of the big sponsors of the Giro, Grana Padano cheese. Riders well matured by this time in the race. Stage 14 is one of those that will be key to the overall outcome, and you can watch it live and on demand on Eurosport on Discovery Plus, and for those of you in the USA, on Max.